In the year 1776, the US gained independence from Great Britain, becoming the world's first modern democracy. And ever since that day, the US has had a very strong tradition of very strong, confident, and intelligent leaders. Leaders who are always able to stand up for democracy. Leaders who are in touch with the American people.
You worked 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
I mean, that is fantastic.
Leaders who are smart and knowledgeable in all academic fields.
That science is going to be key.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
And most importantly, leaders that know their great country and the 50 unique and beautiful states that are contained within it.
I've now been in 57 states. I think 1 left to go.
Or at least for the most part. You see, across the 225 years of this country's existence, there have been 46 different presidents and literally thousands of politicians. In fact, the House of Representatives and the Senate alone have had over 12,421 unique people serve in it. And with that many people, you are bound to have more than a few absolute idiots. And the number of whack jobs that seem to end up as prominent politicians in the US government is way higher than it should. And don't try to tell me that some of the stupidest people in this country aren't also the people running it, because we all know it, just subconsciously. You might try to argue that these people have law degrees and are prestigious members of society. Take Ted Cruz. He got a law degree from Princeton and a doctorate from Harvard or something. But would any normal prestigious law student be reading Sam I Am to all of his best friends in the Senate?
And I love this story, and so I'm going to read it to you. Sam I Am. That's Sam I Am, that's Sam I Am. Do you like green eggs and ham? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam I Am.
Heartwarming, isn't it? Depending on what political party you're a part of, you probably either think that Joe Biden or Donald Trump were the pinnacle of idiocy when it comes to the presidency. But I'm here to tell you that that's just recency bias and political polarization. No. To find the dumbest person to ever grace the Oval Office, we need to take a special look at Vice President Dan Quayle, because at least Trump and Biden haven't been outsmarted by a literal child.
Add one little bit on the end. Think it's potato. How's it? You're right phonetically. What else? There you go.
James Danford Quayle was born in Indiana in 1947, and his family was pretty well off, mainly due to Dan Quayle's father owning a newspaper tycoon, which controlled over a dozen different newspapers, the biggest and most prominent of the two being the Indiana Star and the Arizona Republic. It is because of this fact that Dan Quayle spent most of his childhood ping-ponging from one extremely flat, boring landscape to another one. He eventually graduated high school back in Indiana, after which he obtained a political science degree from DePauw University, a very prestigious college. After college, he briefly joined the Indiana National Guard, and while doing that, he was also able to get his doctorate somehow. He also apparently didn't even have high enough grades to qualify for the class he took. Oh, and at the time there was this teensy-weensy little military exercise, if you will, going on called the Vietnam War, which also has this thing called the draft, which means Dan might have to go to war. Not. Because members of the Indiana National Guard aren't subjugated to the draft since they're just so busy defending the state of Indiana from all its very serious existential threats. After that period of his life, he then worked for 2 years as a publisher for his family's newspaper. However, in 1976, his life would change forever when he was elected to become a representative for Indiana's 4th Congressional District in the federal government. He would do this then for 3 years, until 1980 when he was, feeling a bit more confident. He's been doing this for 3 years now. Why not try to be a senator? Which, considering his fishy past and little experience, obviously completely failed. Of course he got elected. Oh, and on his rerun, he got elected to Senate by the widest margin in Indiana history. Well, I mean, if the people like him that much, he's gotta be a good senator, right? Really advocating for those conservative values that he so strongly believes in, and standing up for those values even when bribed. Oh, what's this? He's just been spotted vacationing at a very prominent government lobbyist's house down in Florida. Well, it seems like Dan Quayle's political career is dying down a bit. Considering his fraudulent degree, escaping service from Vietnam, and taking bribes from prominent lobbyists, it seems very unlikely that he'll ever be elected again. He will probably only be remembered as a small footnote in Indiana history. We will all sort of not really miss him. May his political career forever rest in an Indiana cornfield.
And I introduce to you now, my friend, the next Vice President of the United States, Senator Dan Quayle of Indiana.
Oh my god, he's just been nominated to be vice president. So, knowing everything that we do now, how do you think the media reacted to this decision? I'll give you a few seconds. Yep, they just completely clowned on him. The media wanted answers to what they called the 3 Quayle problems. Those problems being his military service, his special Florida vacation, and his inexperience, as if he were to be elected, he would be the youngest vice president in history. The latter was not helped by a moment in one of his first vice presidential debates where he compared himself to John F. Kennedy, right next to a guy that worked with John F. Kennedy in the Senate, which then led to one of the worst roasts in political debate history.
Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
But, you know, maybe the media was just too hard on Dan Quayle. He may seem like a bumbling idiot with a large ego, but maybe he would mature in office and become a good, well-spoken vice president.
Millions of innocent people lost their lives. It was an obscene period in our nation's history. No, not our nation's, but in World War II. I mean, we all lived in this century. I didn't live in this century.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Now, I could go into all the technical details about why I think he wasn't a good vice president due to his generally backward-thinking policies, but other YouTube channels have already done that, and there's a much better and more important legacy that Dan Quayle left on American politics. And that legacy is that politicians can be and are very stupid. And he communicated that message the one way anyone can, saying stupid things publicly on a very regular basis. Dan Quayle today is most remembered for his fantastically terrible quotes. And I've taken all the best ones and sorted them into 4 general categories: egotistical, contradictory, too obvious, and just bad takes. Most of these quotes don't really require an explanation or commentary. They are very self-explanatory, so I'm just gonna read them out in a list style fashion. Some of these moments were, unluckily for him, also caught on camera, so there will be a few clips of the man himself here and there. Let's start with my favorite category, contradictory statements. There are only a few of them, but boy are they funny.
Our relations with the Pacific countries are very important to the United States, but we're going to let you go anyway.
One word sums up probably the responsibility of any vice president, and that one word is to be prepared.
We don't want to go back to tomorrow. We want to move forward.
I believe we are on an irreversible trend toward more freedom and democracy, but that could change.
Coach of IU basketball, Bobby Knight, told me this. He says, there is nothing that a good defense cannot beat a better offense. In other words, a good offense wins. Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mrs. Bush, Dick Truly, and fellow astronauts.
I deserve respect for things I did not do.
I believe that I've made good judgments in the past, and I think I've made good judgments in the future.
We are ready for any unforeseen event that may or may not occur. I am not part of the problem. I am a Republican.
I also served in the kitchen patrol and peeled a lot of potatoes and things that other specialists do. I did, in fact, eat graham crackers, drink milk, and took naps in kindergarten.
It isn't pollution that's harming the environment. It's the impurities in our water and air that are doing it. It's a very good historical book about history.
The question is whether we're going to go forward to tomorrow or we're going to go past to the back.
For NASA, space is still a high priority. Quite frankly, teachers are the only profession that teach our children. A low voter turnout is an indication of fewer people going to the polls.
What a waste it is to lose one's mind or not to have a mind is being very wasteful. How true that is.
It is time for the human race to enter the solar system. I love California. I practically grew up in Phoenix. We have a firm commitment to Europe. We are a part of Europe.
Hawaii has always been a very pivotal role in the Pacific. It is in the Pacific, the part of the United States that is an island that is right here.
It's wonderful to be here in the great state of Chicago. I was recently on tour of Latin America, and the only regret I have was that I didn't study Latin harder in school, so then maybe I could converse with those people.
I was known as the chief grave robber of my state.
Unfortunately, the people of Louisiana are not racist.
The governor of Massachusetts, he lost his top naval advisor last week. The rubber duck drowned in his bathtub.
This president is going to lead us out of this recovery.
We understand the importance of having the bondage between the parent and the child.
Tobacco exports should be expanded aggressively because Americans are smoking less. Let me be very clear, the Republican Party will select a nominee that will beat Bill Clinton. And finally, by far the most important Dan Quayle quote of all time.
I made a misstatement, and I stand by all my misstatements.
I think in the end, there's a very important and insightful life lesson that we can learn from Dan Quayle's vice presidential career. And that is, when you find yourself in a very high position of power, just don't be an absolute idiot. Jesus Christ.